Imagine standing in a bustling city square. Your eyes sweep across the scene, colorful signs, moving people, flashing lights. It all feels instant and real. But here's a surprising secret. What you see isn't exactly what your eyes capture. Your eyes are like cameras, taking in light and color, shapes and motion. But the image they send to your brain is far from a perfect photograph. It's blurry, incomplete, and sometimes even misleading. Your brain takes over to make up what you see, filling gaps, sharpening edges, guessing what's out of view. It stitches together fragments into a coherent picture so smoothly that you hardly notice the magic behind it. In fact, vision is not just about light hitting your eyes. It's a grand collaboration between your eyes and your brain. Without your brain's incredible processing power, what you see would be confusing, fragmented, or even non-existent. This story isn't just about sight. It's about how your brain creates your reality, how it interprets signals, and sometimes how it even tricks you. So, how does your brain do this? What tricks does it play? And why does it sometimes lead you to see things that aren't really there? To understand your vision, we need to take a journey inside your head to the astonishing world of neurons, signals, and brain regions that work together to create everything you experience as sight. Your eyes are incredible, but they don't actually see in the way you might imagine. Instead, they act like highly specialized cameras, capturing raw data, light, color, shapes, and converting that into electrical signals. This process begins in the retina, a thin layer of cells lining the back of your eye. The retina contains millions of photoreceptor cells called rods and cones. Rods help you see in low light, giving you night vision, while cones detect color and detail. But even with millions of these sensors, the retina's image is far from perfect. It's like a low-resolution, black and white sketch with missing pieces and blind spots. From the retina, these electrical signals travel down the optic nerve, a thick bundle of nerve fibers on a complex route to the brain. The first stop is the lateral geniculate nucleus in the thalamus, which acts like a relay station, organizing and prioritizing information before sending it on. Finally, the signals reach the visual cortex at the back of your brain. But here's where the magic really begins. Your brain doesn't simply receive a ready-made picture. Instead, it interprets, assembles, and even invents the images you consciously see. The brain constantly fills in gaps caused by blind spots, shadows, or obstructions. It uses context, past experiences, and pattern recognition to guess missing details. For example, when part of a face is hidden behind a hand, your brain fills in the obscured features so you perceive a whole face, not a fragmented image. This interpretive process explains why optical illusions can trick you. They exploit your brain's assumptions, revealing how much of what you see is actually a mental construction. What's more astonishing is how quickly this all happens. Within a fraction of a second, your brain processes millions of signals, assembles a coherent scene, and updates it as you move or objects change, all without you consciously thinking about it. Next, we'll dive deeper into how your brain creates the rich sense of depth and distance from the flat, two-dimensional images captured by your eyes. Seeing the world in 3 dimensions is something we take for granted, but it's one of the brain's most remarkable feats. Your eyes capture flat images, but your brain transforms them into a rich 3D experience that lets you judge distances, reach for objects, and move through space safely. This magic begins with binocular vision. Because your 2 eyes sit a few centimeters apart, they see slightly different views of the same scene. Your brain compares these differences, called disparities, to calculate how far away things are. The closer an object is, the bigger the difference between the images your eyes receive. This depth perception helps you catch a ball, pour a drink, or navigate tricky terrain without stumbling. Even people with vision in just one eye can judge depth using other clues. like size, texture, shading, and motion, all of which your brain masterfully interprets. Your brain also uses motion parallax, the way objects closer to you move faster across your field of vision than distant ones when you move your head or walk. This subtle cue provides more information about the world's layout. But your brain's job isn't just to measure depth, it also interprets ambiguous or incomplete information. When light and shadow fall in unusual ways, your brain guesses the shapes and distances that make the most sense based on experience. This explains why some optical illusions play with perspective and shading to trick your mind into seeing impossible shapes or floating objects. All this processing happens in specialized areas of the visual cortex, working together in a complex network to create you a seamless experience of space. Next, we'll explore how your brain recognizes faces, objects, and scenes, transforming raw data into meaning and memory. Recognizing faces and objects is a vital part of how your brain makes sense of what you see. When your eyes send images to the brain, it doesn't just stop at processing light and depth, it also works hard to identify what you're looking at. Specialized areas of the brain, like the fusiform face area, FFA, are dedicated to recognizing faces. This region is so finely tuned that it can distinguish between thousands of individual faces, even spotting subtle differences in expression or identity. That's why you can instantly recognize a friend in a crowd, even if you only catch a glimpse. But it's not just faces. The brain has networks for recognizing objects, places, and even letters or words. These areas interpret shapes, colors, textures, and context to assign meaning to what you see. For example, if you see a round shape with a stem, your brain might identify it as an apple. But if it's red or green or partially eaten, your brain updates the picture to include these details. This recognition process is deeply tied to memory. When your brain identifies something, it retrieves past experiences, knowledge, and emotions connected to that object or person. This is why seeing a familiar face can bring a rush of feelings, or why certain places evoke vivid memories. Interestingly, your brain can even fill in details of things you only partially see. If a car is mostly hidden behind a tree, your brain guesses its shape and size, so you perceive a complete object. This remarkable ability allows you to navigate a complex world without getting lost in endless details. Your brain distills the flood of visual data into meaningful information, a skill it develops from infancy and refines throughout life. But vision isn't just about identifying static objects, it's also about understanding motion and predicting what will happen next. Motion is the secret language your brain uses to understand the world in real time. When something moves, your eyes send a flood of information about speed, direction, and change, and your brain deciphers it instantly. Specialized neurons in the visual cortex detect movement, allowing you to track a ball flying through the air, notice a person walking across a room, or sense when a car approaches at high speed. But your brain does more than just see motion, it predicts it. By analyzing past movement, your brain can anticipate where objects will be a moment from now, helping you catch a ball or avoid an obstacle. This predictive ability is so fast and accurate, it feels automatic. One fascinating example of your brain's prediction is the flash lag effect. When a moving object passes a flashing light, your brain perceives the moving object as ahead of the flash, even if they align perfectly. This happens because your brain processes moving objects faster, anticipating their future position. Motion perception also helps your brain build a stable view of the world despite constant eye movements. Your eyes jump rapidly, making it seem like the world would blur or jump too, but your brain filters out these movements, keeping your vision smooth and steady. Understanding motion is crucial for survival. It alerts you to danger, helps you navigate busy environments, and supports complex activities like driving or playing sports. but sometimes your brain's predictions can be fooled, creating illusions of movement where none exists. Another clue that what you see is a constructed experience, not a direct copy of reality. Next, we'll look at how your brain processes color, turning wavelengths of light into the vibrant world you experience. Color is one of the richest and most vivid aspects of your visual world, but it too is a creation of your brain. The light that reaches your eyes contains different wavelengths, each corresponding to colors like red, green, and blue. Your retina's cones are sensitive to these wavelengths and convert them into signals. However, the brain's task is far more complex than simply registering these signals. It must interpret color in varying light conditions, across shadows and reflections, and even adjust for changes in daylight. This ability, called color constancy, lets you perceive a red apple as red whether you see it in bright sunlight or dim indoor light. Your brain compares signals from different cones, processes context, and sometimes even uses memory and expectation to decide what color you see. For example, when you look at a white piece of paper under yellow light, your brain still perceives it as white, correcting for the color of the light source. Color perception also plays a vital role in emotion and behavior. Bright, warm colors like red and orange can evoke excitement or urgency, while cool colors like blue and green often create calm and relaxation. Interestingly, some people experience color differently, such as those with color blindness, who may lack certain cones, or those with synesthesia, where colors might be linked to sounds or numbers. These variations highlight how deeply personal and constructed our experience of color truly is. Your brain also uses color to enhance object recognition and to guide attention. A bright yellow traffic sign, for example, grabs your eye immediately, alerting you to important information. All this shows that color is not just about light hitting your eyes, it's about your brain interpreting, adjusting, and assigning meaning, crafting a vivid, reliable world from shifting wavelengths. Up next, how your brain deals with what happens when the information it receives is incomplete or conflicting. Sometimes the information your eyes send to your brain is incomplete, ambiguous, or even conflicting. Yet, your brain still manages to create a clear and stable picture of the world. This remarkable ability to fill in gaps and resolve uncertainty shows just how much your brain makes up your sight. Consider the classic example of the blind spot. Each eye has a small area where the optic nerve connects to the retina, a spot with no photoreceptors. This means a tiny part of your visual field contains no information. Yet you don't see a black hole in your vision because your brain fills in that missing area based on surrounding colors, shapes, and patterns. This filling in happens constantly. When you look at a patterned wall, for instance, your brain extends lines and textures over gaps to create a continuous image, even when parts are hidden behind objects or in shadows. Your brain also uses context and experience to interpret ambiguous images. Optical illusions, like the famous Canisa triangle, show how your mind perceives shapes that aren't really there by mentally completing edges and forms. When conflicting information arrives, such as when one eye sees something different than the other, your brain merges or chooses which image to trust, sometimes causing fascinating effects like binocular rivalry, where your perception alternates between two different images. All these processes reveal that vision is not a passive receipt of light, but an act of construction, a constant interpretation shaped by past experience and immediate context. This ability can be so powerful that sometimes the brain creates sights that aren't present at all, leading us into the fascinating world of visual hallucinations and illusions. Next, we'll explore how your brain adapts and changes its visual processing throughout your life. Your brain's visual system is not fixed. It's remarkably flexible and adaptable, constantly learning and rewiring itself based on experience. This ability, called neuroplasticity, means that the way you see the world can change over time. From the moment you're born, your brain begins to develop the complex networks needed for vision. Babies start with blurry, limited sight, but as they grow, their brain learns to interpret visual signals more accurately. Early experiences shape how well your brain can recognize faces, depth, and colors. Even in adulthood, your brain adapts. If you lose sight in one eye, your brain can adjust to rely more heavily on the other. If you wear glasses that change how images appear, your brain gradually learns to compensate, restoring a sense of normal vision. Studies of people who regain sight after blindness show that it takes time for the brain to relearn how to process visual information. This reveals how much of seeing depends not just on the eyes, but on learned brain functions. Your brain can also adapt when visual areas are damaged. In some cases, other senses like hearing or touch take over parts of the brain usually devoted to vision, helping compensate for loss. This adaptability is why therapies and training can improve vision problems like lazy eye, and why learning new skills, such as reading or sports, changes your brain's visual processing pathways. Your brain's plasticity is a reminder that vision isn't static, it's a dynamic process, constantly shaped by your interactions with the world. Next, we'll examine how your brain combines information from all your senses to create your experience of reality. Your experience of sight isn't isolated. It's deeply connected to your other senses. Your brain continuously combines information from vision, hearing, touch, and even smell to create a rich, unified perception of the world. For example, when you watch someone speak, your brain merges what you see, their lip movements, with the sounds you hear, improving your ability to understand speech. This phenomenon is known as the McGurk effect, where mismatched visual and auditory cues can alter what you think you hear. Touch and vision also work together. When you see an object and reach out to touch it, your brain synchronizes visual data with tactile feedback, refining your perception of its shape, texture, and position. Even your sense of balance influences how you see motion and depth. Your inner ear detects movement and acceleration, helping your brain maintain a stable visual experience as you walk, run, or turn your head. This multisensory integration happens seamlessly and automatically. It helps you navigate complex environments, avoid danger, and interact skillfully with the world around you. However, when senses provide conflicting information, your brain must decide which input to trust. Sometimes this leads to surprising effects, like feeling motion sickness when your eyes see movement, but your body doesn't feel it, or vice versa. Understanding how your brain merges sensory data reveals how your perception is a dynamic, ongoing construction, shaped by many sources beyond just your eyes. In our final part, we'll reflect on what this all means for how you see yourself and the world. Knowing that your brain makes up your sight changes everything about how we understand reality. What you see isn't a simple copy of the world, but a rich, dynamic construction shaped by millions of signals, memories, and predictions. This means your perception is deeply personal, influenced by your past experiences, your brain's wiring, and even your expectations. Two people might look at the same scene but notice very different details or interpret what they see in unique ways. It also means that sight is fragile and malleable. Optical illusions, visual disorders, and even dreams show us how easily our brain's interpretation can be altered or deceived. Yet this flexibility is also a strength. It allows you to recognize faces in a crowd, read words on a page, catch a moving ball, and appreciate art or nature. All tasks that require your brain to make sense of complex changing input. Your vision is a masterpiece of biological engineering, a collaboration between your eyes and your brain, continuously weaving together light, color, depth, motion, and meaning to create your lived experience.